This is a moment of great, unique uncertainty in our financial markets.
We're on the verge of a major financial meltdown.
Major financial institutions have teetered on the edge of collapse, and some have failed.
You remember 2008. I mean, people were afraid whether they were going to get cash out of the ATM. And the stock market, fell off a cliff. And that has a big effect on the economy. There was a lot of credit put in the system, and no one was looking big picture. And on Wall Street, what went wrong is people were incentivized by very large bonuses to do bad deals, because there was a lot of money to be made by bundling up mortgages that were not very good and reselling them to investors. The reforms were tied to Dodd-Frank, and then also the Federal Reserve tightened some of the things that it required of banks. And so all of those things were reforms. It's harder to get a mortgage today, but also what's happened is the source of mortgages have changed. So there are alternative financing companies that have popped up, but certainly no money down, no income stated loans, which were very common before the financial crisis, have gone away. And, in many cases, that might be a good thing. A crisis can come out of any asset class becoming a bubble, and then what happens when that bubble is bursting? All the financial institutions that have a piece of it or an interest in it, they sometimes have a run on the bank. Some of the reforms that were put in place did require more financial institutions to hold greater amounts of capital, so that no matter what asset class there's a crisis in, the banks have more of a cushion to protect them in a potential bank run. The next crisis could be in the housing market, but it could also be in any other asset class, and then it's very important that banks don't simply collapse unnecessarily because of a panic. When the financial crisis happened and so many people lost their homes, and they saw that the Wall Street banks were bailed out, but they, the homeowners, were not bailed out, people became very angry at Wall Street. You remember Occupy Wall Street came a couple years later.
Wall Street! Wall Street! Wall Street! Wall Street!
That was the most interesting to me, was just seeing this major clash in perception, really almost a clash over capitalism, about whether bankers should just make as much money as they can make without thinking about the effect, or about whether they're also an active player with more of a moral duty to think about the effect that their lending and their business practices have on society and the economy. And in the end, there were not many people at all who were personally held accountable for the financial crisis. Let's put it this way. There are not big jails full of Wall Street executives or Wall Street traders related to the financial crisis. But the thing to remember is that no one party was really responsible for this. And when the fire was out, people were pretty relieved and have moved on. And so I don't think the most lessons were learned. And, really what happened may not be fully understood until, people write histories down the road.